So me and you were enjoying some nice boxing highlights before we, like literally just right before we came on here. We were talking about Caleb Plant, and I think that was like the co-main too of the Deontay Wilder fight. I'm not 100% sure, but I think it was because like I watched the UFC. I'm
Yeah.
not too sure about the other stuff. I just heard that there was a lot of boxing, so I wanted to keep up with it. But that Caleb Plant knockout, dude, to start with it, like that was pretty crazy
Mm.
because the way he set that up was like I even texted you about it. Like it was just insane. Like he got him like in the liver and just immediately went over the top with the left hook and just knocked him out cold. Anthony Durrell, that's who he fought. He knocked him out cold, which is funny, obviously, because we saw the video of the press conference, which I did not see before the fight. Neither did you. And then like we obviously see it like now where he's like, yeah, he talked a lot of shit, but the biggest thing that he said was you can't hit. And I think he proved that one wrong. So I don't know. What are your
Yeah.
thoughts on when shit
It's
talk just goes wrong? I
it's
think
not
that's a
it's
prime
not.
example.
I feel like when you do that, you start fighting with your emotions, and then like the guy your opponent is more like just I just feel like it just shows itself like beforehand. It's like, okay, Darrell's clearly the one who's like looking. He's gonna won't be the one probably like pushing the pace and stuff like trying to get him out of here. Whereas Plant is probably gonna he's gonna pick his spots a little more, be a little more technical, and
Yeah,
then
and that's genuinely how he fights too. Like it's not even like a bad assessment of him saying like, yeah, you're gonna dance
yeah,
around
yeah, exactly. I
I was
was
about
about
to
to
say
say.
octagon, the ring.
I was about to say, like, even Darrell saying like all you're gonna do is dance around the ring and stuff. It's like that's not. I don't really see that much as like, especially when you're like Caleb Plant and you know what you're capable of.
Yeah, I
Like,
mean, you guys
that's not an
fought Canelo.
insult. It's the only like actual. If anything, it's just disrespect when you're like you don't have hands and you can't hit,
Yeah, I think.
and then you find out that he can hit.
I love it too. Like in like the reel that you see on YouTube with it, it's like the YouTube short. It literally has like him saying like you can't hit, and immediately after like they just show him getting knocked out cold by Caleb Plant, like which is so funny to me. Like I just think it's funny when shit talkers get fucking knocked out like that sometimes.
They're the ones like putting like more pressure on themselves. It feels like that's why I say like it feels like they fight more with their emotions. It's like oh God, if I this guy is like they think so little of their opponents. Like it's like that's a kind of loss that could like deter the rest of like your career. So
Yeah.
like who
Speaking
knows
of losses though that deter the rest of people's career, dude, Deontay Wilder. I don't want to butcher his names. I'm going to read it. Like I believe it's like Robert Helenius or something like that. But that was bad. Like that, dude. Like first round,
Yeah.
right off the bat, and like I don't know. Did you see him on the ground, dude? Like holy shit, dude. That was a bad knockout. Like and Wilder, like we've talked about this before, just like the touch of death, or like I like to
Yeah.
call it the equalizer, because it's like you
Yeah.
could be losing a fight, and that's just that could
He's
turn it.
he's still that dude.
It's so crazy, and like he seems to like have matured a bit too. Like even after the fight, I liked how he was like he showed like a lot of like respect and a lot of concern like too like for his opponent. And he was like, I hope he's all right. I don't like obviously we're coming in here to like hurt each other, and like he even compared it to other sports. He's like this isn't like a kid's game, and like that's we talk about that all the time on the show, which is why I feel like it's like important to bring it up. And in that case, like obviously it's a valid point because he slept like Robert Helenius pretty bad. And like for him to like show like concern is obviously shows like the maturity that he's had. Because obviously we've seen like after some of his losses, the shit that he'll say. But after a win, he could have been cocky, could have just been like I'm back, all that. And like he was like that, but he was also like, yeah, no, respect to my opponent. I hope he's all right, because this is not a game that we're playing. Like this is a real thing here. We're in a fight, and I don't know. I just thought that was cool. But then like to the other boxing match on the weekend. Devin Haney versus George Kambosos 2. Haney beat Kambosos in the first one. I remember that like vaguely. It's hard for me to keep up with boxing and the UFC at the same time. It's difficult. Like I definitely like a few years ago I definitely could have like fucking had like a whole segment on this crap. Like nowadays it's like so far and few in between. But this weekend I had some amazing fights. That's why I feel like we had to talk about it. But Haney in this one just looked incredible. Like the way he dominated George Kambosos with his he's just such a technician in there. And like, you know, you were even saying like before the show, it's, you know, you're not like comparing him yet, but it's like his style is like so like reminiscent of like Floyd Mayweather because of just the way that he's able to like elude punches, and he's just so good at like countering, and it's just he really is like a technician. That's the best way to describe it. I agree with you like when you said that before. But I want to ask you about like his next fight, possibly. People have been like rumoring this. They're saying like this should be the next one. But what do you think about Devin Haney versus Lomachenko? I don't know if I think you feel like you probably know who Loma is, right?
Of course. Yeah, I think Loma was one of the like best to ever do it, and I think Haney's ready for it. I think it's a good challenge. Like.
It's a good fight because I think Haney's undefeated and like Loma's had losses here and there, and he's definitely like older now, but he's still like really good. Like it's not like Triple G like when he fought like Canelo the third time and he's like clearly old as shit. But Loma's like, I don't know. I'm trying to think of like someone to compare him to like in MMA. Maybe like I was about to say Usman. That's honestly not really a good comparison. Because I was trying to think of like people who are like recently champion and kind of are on the decline, but they're still like up there. You know what I'm saying? Maybe like a Stipe type person. But I don't know. I'd love to see that because Loma's like the perfect counter to that. Like he's so aggressive and he's so like talented too. Like just with his technical like boxing, that I think him and Haney just stylistically would be a good fight. Like because that's the way that Mayweather was too. Like he would have bad fights sometimes when people were. It's sort of like we've talked about Adesanya. Like when people don't engage, that's when like you have those snooze fest type fights. But when people are actually like coming at him, that's when it makes it interesting. And I don't know.
Yeah, that's how I think that fight goes. In which case, like, I mean, I won't say like who I still think it should happen.
Yeah, I think it would be interesting. It'd be good for Devin Haney too to build up his name even more. And like, I guess before we get into the UFC, the last thing I have to say is make Terrence Crawford versus Errol Spence. What are you waiting for? All right, let's move on.
Perfect.
So, UFC event. I don't know where to start with this one because I have like, there's like some good and then there's like the bad. I almost want to start with the bad just so we could like end it on a positive note and like with all the fights and stuff. But like, you know, we kind of touched on this when we were talking about the UFC's quality, and then we talked about it again, obviously, last week, just kind of like analyzing the card at a deeper level, and it's like, it's not that bad. But it was like, I noticed it not really when I was watching the fights, because the card, it was like pretty good. It wasn't that great, it wasn't that bad. Like, it was okay. Just like we kind of imagined it would probably be. And, but when I was writing like the outline for the pod, I just kind of like felt myself, I was like, this is like, who the fuck are these? Like, these people mean nothing to the title picture. Seriously. Like, I want to talk about them because, like, they had great performances and I was impressed by them and, like, they do matter. But it's, like, even the main event, like, with Grasso and Araujo, they're not directly in the title picture. Like, they're still, like, a fight or two away. And then you had the flyweight fight with Royval and Askarov, which was a title picture type fight. You know, title eliminator. Possibly.
I thought it was a good card, but not necessarily of who was on it. I just thought the matchups were fine. It's like, like obviously, like we like MMA here, so like,
yeah, we're watching anyway.
Exactly, like, it's good fight. Fun. So it's a good card in that sense, but
yeah, and like I had a lot too.
You still have to make them more meaningful.
Yeah, it's like because like I thought you brought up a great point a few pods ago when you said that like you know. Yes, you can do what you're doing, like with the money and like sign the younger people and build them through the fight nights, but you have to get people to want to watch it. Like you were so on the money with that, and like I think about that a lot.
That's what I mean. We've praised the UFC's matchmaking like over and over, so like I'm sure they're aware of that and like okay, they like realize they're making like good fights and whatnot, but. That's really all they're looking like to as long as like they're doing the Apex and you know ESPN is like you know like where everything's taking place like all they want to do is like okay like just put together like these fight nights Apex UFC Vegas cards like just put together good matchups you know two fighters that'll put on a good fight with each other and that's it but like you know we like the you know, the hardcore fan, like, we want to see, like, even, like, casuals, like, they want something like that, you know, it matters, like, oh, like, this is someone who could really, like, be like a serious threat to like my favorite fighter, for instance, who's at the top right now. Instead, it's like,
Yeah, exactly.
okay, it's like it feels like nothing's like moving all that much. It's like, okay, you got this win, now you have to go, get another. You just got to keep stacking. It's like you can make them a bit more meaningful.
Yeah, like I even back like when I first started like really getting into it, because like I've watched it like for like a decent. I think I've said this on the pod before. Like the one that
I think UFC Fight Night is ruined in that sense. Like UFC Fight Night used to feel just so like
fun, like they were fun. Like,
yeah.
It wasn't like the same because the pay-per-views are like supposed to be like that electric, like boxing type feel, but the fight nights have always like they used to be like just like a fun event. Like there's fun fights on it. There's people who matter. There's multiple ranked opponents.
Exactly.
Title picture, like things are on the like it's, I think about when I first got into it, like I said, like in 2015, I'm not even like talking about like that because obviously like I got into it in the first place from like Jones and Cormier. But when I really got into it was like a little bit before the ESPN era. And like, so I kind of got like the tail end of Fox, and I like that's why I kind of compare it because they really did a great job on Fox. Not that they don't on ESPN, but I think the ESPN deal, like we've talked about ad nauseum, is kind of like washed it a little bit. But what my main point is though is like I remember one of the first fight nights that I really enjoyed on ESPN was Wonder Boy versus Anthony Pettis. And the card was just so fun. And like there were so many fun fighters on it. And that fight at the time was like, I think it was Pettis' welterweight debut. And Wonder Boy was like already in like the top, like upper echelon because he was coming off like the Woodley fights and stuff like that. Like this fight, we can kind of get into the main event. And like, I'm not even saying I didn't enjoy this fight because I did. But Alexa Grasso and Vivian Araujo, dude, I hear it like pronounced like 900 different ways. I'm gonna say like Araujo. That's what I'm gonna go with. But like, they're good fighters. Like obviously we've talked about like me and you just like that they're obviously top in the division, but it's just the fact that like neither of them are right at a title shot. Like, even Grasso with a win by unanimous decision, like you can't even say that like she deserves a title shot. And even if she did, it's like she's going up against Valentina Shevchenko. And I don't know about you, I love Alexa Grasso. She ain't beating Valentina Shevchenko. Like that's not happening in any way, shape, or form. So it's just like if that's the best fight of the night, then you go down from there. You have Martinez and Cub Swanson. Obviously, Cub is a big name and Martinez is a prospect. Keep going further. It's like names that I think like have been around for a while that people would know, like a Sun Tzu, maybe Misha Serkinov, just because of how much of a veteran he is. But like obviously I know them all. Like I think Jordan Wright is cool as hell. Alonzo Menafield has had some amazing knockouts since we started this pod, and like I don't know. It's just like but the casual audience doesn't know these people as well as we do. And it's hard for us to build them up and be like, yeah, you should care about this person who's not going to fight for a title in the next, like, 3 years. Like, it's like, you can talk about their performance and how good they are, but, someone's going to say to you, all right, well, when are they going to be fighting a ranked opponent? I have no idea. Like, you know what I mean? It just bothers me sometimes. That's kind of what was going through my mind, just writing through the outline, but I don't know. Like, do you agree? Like, do you agree with me? Am I like way off on it? Like,
no, we're on the same page with this. We just want, we just want the fights to, like, to UFC Fight Night to feel a little like more meaningful. At least UFC Vegas, when they travel for fight nights, that's when it's like, okay, like if it has that feel to it, but
it's just like make it look like you give a shit. Like remotely about like the viewers and even the fighters, like like all the things that you see. Like I remember Nate Diaz he had the Rock shoes on and he just bashed them on the broadcast because they forced him to wear them, and he literally just took them off and threw them. It's like shit like that. Like the UFC's making all this extra money off all these like fighters' literal blood, sweat, and tears, and like these casual like celebrity fans who come in, like they think they're doing so much for the sport by partnering with these companies. Meanwhile, they don't even realize that they're not even fucking helping the fighters remotely. Like the latest thing that I saw, like we were talking about Zuckerberg being in attendance, and me and you both said like that's probably something to that. What do you know? A week later, it's announced that like Meta is partnering with the UFC. Like it's just like, dude, like and I get it's like a business. You know what I mean? I'm not even against that, but it's just like, goddamn, like. And you also got to keep like your fan base in mind. Like I don't know about you, but I'm pretty sure the MMA community don't like Mark Zuckerberg. Like partnering with Meta is a casual fan thing. Definitely not something that the hardcore fans appreciate whatsoever. I can tell you that I don't. Like, it's just like, I don't want to get into like politics and shit like that. But, he's obviously like a controversial figure just in the world currently. But I don't know. I'm not a big fan of that deal per se. Because the fighters are getting none of that, probably.
Yeah,
I shouldn't
exactly.
say 100%, but...
We can talk all day about how the fighters aren't even getting really even remotely close to what they should be.
I'm trying to look it up.
Despite all these deals and just all this other, BS that us as fans really couldn't care less about.
Yeah, and I'm like
we're watching the two guys or girls that are in the octagon in the given fight. Like, that's what we care about. And then we care about, obviously, narratives and, how, like, the landscape of each division looks like. That's just like...
Yeah, and then you got those dumbass broadcasts like the one with the Gronks that they should never do again. I'm sure they will never do it again, by the way. Notice how that has not been, like, brought up lately. I don't think that one's ever going to happen again. It's just bullshit, though. Like, I feel like the fans, like, of the UFC and just MMA in general are so, like, loyal and, like, we all love the sport so much. And I feel like it's not, like, a crazy thing to ask for them to put just give us, like, something. Like, make it look like you guys give a shit about these cards.
Well, I feel like this is a good transition into another one of these topics, because what had a potential to be, like, easily potential to be fight of the night didn't happen, which just, like, gets me so annoyed about Askarov. But,
oh, yeah.
And, I guess we could go right into that. I don't think he should. I hope he sticks around. I would really like Askarov to stick around. Like, we talked about last week. We're fans of the guy, but
yeah,
man, like, who says it doesn't, like, start to get, like, Aspen Ladd, like, bad with the weight cut issues, and then, like, the UFC kind of, like, is forced to let him go. Like, it's just like it. It's not. Yeah, it's not fair to Brandon Royval, and it's not fair to fans either. But man,
and
I wish they like.
It's not even fair to himself. Like, like, you're training all that time and you can't be disciplined enough to, like, get your weight down before you get here. Like, I just don't understand it. Like,
That's
like,
a good point. Yeah.
Like, I shouldn't say I don't understand, because, like, I know obviously that, like, weight cutting is very difficult. It's, like, a hard process. It's draining. Like, for people who don't know, like, these fighters are literally, like, draining their bodies of all fluid. They water for it, but they're not drinking water, like, pretty much the day before the fight. Now, think about this, like, I'll bring up Khabib, because that's always my favorite example for drastic weight cutting. He walks around at, like, 190, maybe, like, 185 in his prime. So he was the 155-pound champion. He would cut 30 pounds off his, like, natural weight. And, like, obviously he's getting into fight week probably weighing around, like, 170. But he's cutting, like, 10 pounds, like, in, like, the last, like, 2-3 days before his fight. Like, imagine just being sucked down to the bare minimum, no body fat, the day before you have to step into a cage and literally fight somebody. Like, it's crazy. Like, that's why, there's the one side of it where you got to criticize Askarov because you're a professional. You signed the contract. You got to make the weight. Doesn't matter that it's hard. But then you got to, like, explain it to, like, the casual audience who doesn't. I feel like most people don't really get what these guys and girls are doing to even get into the cage, like, and to cut all the weight and do all that stuff. It's just a big deal. But, back to Askarov and Royval, like, I agree with you. Like, I think it was a fight of the night potential type fight. Obviously a title eliminator. And Askarov, like, robs himself of this opportunity, because you could say that if he won, we were talking about it, like, if he won this fight, you could arguably fight for the title. But it's funny because we also were saying he's had weight issues in the past and he needs to prove that he can actually make 125 pounds, not 126, 125. And, this happens, and it's just like, I think that basically tells people that we know what we're talking about. We're not just talking out of our ass. That's just what it is. But I don't know. I feel like I don't want to, like, focus too much. I feel like there's, we've said that all we can really say, you know what I mean? Like, it's a lack of discipline, and it sucks for both of them because they both got robbed of a title eliminator fight, a huge title eliminator fight at that. But I guess we could talk about the fights that were actually on the card. Like, we've kind of touched on it already, but Alexa Grasso and Vivian Araujo. Alexa won by unanimous decision. I thought the 50-45 scorecard or scorecards were a little much. I don't know if she won every round, but I don't know. Like some people thought it was really close. What did you think personally when you were like watching this fight?
I didn't think it was really close. I mean, I had it closer than a 50-45. I even thought Araujo won the first round.
Yeah, I thought that was arguable.
It
was close, man.
I scored that at 10-9, and then again, round 4 she took as well. But at least from the first round on, like Alexa Grasso was just the one landing more. It's that simple.
What did you think of round 2? I thought that one was one that could be interesting for debate because like Araujo had like top control for like a decent part of the round, but then when Grasso got up in like the last like 15 seconds, she hit her with like a lot of good shots and like was hurting her and like it like ended the round landing a lot of shots on her, and you could almost like, I mean, I'm not like 100% on how I feel about it, but like you could say like she stole the round at the end, literally. So
that's what I think. That's the kind of thing I think today's judges look for. Like, how can you like respond and like, obviously like not everyone's gonna just put on a flurry like that in the last 15 seconds after being on the ground, but like volume, that's really just. You put out, you can put out volume, like actual volume that, matters and lands and stuff. Like, judges will take your side, and that's what happened here in this fight. And I don't have like, I thought it was closer, like I said, than what it actually was scored, but I still, I agree with the decision. Like, I think Alexa Grasso won that fight. So
yeah, I talked about like my thoughts on this one specifically, like on Instagram, but like. In short, like it was funny, like pretty much like almost exactly what I said in the preview post is what ended up happening. Like Araujo, good at using her reach. She has a really good jab. She's very athletic, and that makes her like very aggressive with her style. And like coming in, I was like, that's not the style you want to have. 1, for a 5-round fight, and 2, against someone like Alexa Grasso who has such great lateral movement and footwork, and she's great at just picking people apart with her boxing from range. And that's. It was definitely like because Araujo was landing like some good jabs and stuff, and she was landing punches, and like, but the thing is, Alexa Grasso was just doing it way more consistently. She was landing more every round, and Araujo had some good moments like with her jiu-jitsu, kind of like we, figured she might, but not enough, not anywhere near enough to get the win in my opinion. But like, it was a good fight. Like people I hate how much people hate on like the women's fights and like the comments and shit. Like, I'm not even trying to like grandstand.
These are all like good fights. Like in the grand scheme of it, like this card as a whole, pretty good card. But just once again, like you gotta have like the buzz around it.
Yeah, it's hard to create buzz when both fighters coming in are like, yeah, I don't really want to fight for the title. I don't think it's next, but I'll take it. Like oh, that's sounds real enthusiastic. But I just with Grasso, like, because she, like I said, that's pretty much what she said, and I'm not hating on Grasso. Alexa Grasso is literally like one of my favorite fighters in that division. She's like she just seems like the nicest human being, and I love watching her fight too because she's really like well rounded. And I think she's very underrated too. It's just that she's kind of small for 125, but either way, like the fighters I'm gonna suggest that she fight are bigger than her. But it's like if you're not fighting for the title, and Valentina's bigger than her too, so it doesn't even make a difference. I figured maybe her versus Talia Santos or Lauren Murphy, because those are the two that are above her.
It's a good test, yeah.
Yeah, like yes, they're bigger, and like you could argue that like, oh well, Lauren Murphy could just gonna out strength her, you know what I mean, and Santos for that matter. But like, okay, so if you wanted to get a title shot, then what do you think Valentina's gonna do? So it's like people like in MMA, I feel like are so short sighted sometimes. Yeah. Like they have an argument and then they don't like compare it to other like fights, like because Valentina was a bantamweight too, like just like Lauren Murphy was. So what's your point? Like if you don't think Lauren Murphy's a good matchup for you, think Valentina is like so. I don't know. I think that was kind of ridiculous, but I think that's a good test because we were talking about title eliminators. I think either of those fights would be a title eliminator at that point. Especially with like Murphy, because it's been a little bit since he fought for the title, and she's had some good wins since. And honestly, Santos though too, because like I've been saying like she deserves like a rematch against Valentina, so I wouldn't be mad if she got one fight and then got the Valentina match.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, what do you think that though? She should be fighting like for the title, or do you think that like the same thing as I do and kind of maybe one more in between?
Oh, Talia Santos?
No, watching her too. I would actually like your answer on that, but I was talking about Alexa Grasso.
Oh, no, I don't think Grasso should be fighting for the title right now.
No, Santos though, because you actually piqued my interest. You think she should get one right now?
I agree. I agree with you in the sense that, I mean, even if she didn't have another fight before a rematch, like I wouldn't really have a problem with that. But I think they're definitely gonna give her like they're gonna give her that title eliminator and
Yeah,
hopefully
it's
a rematch after if she wins. So
I hope so. I think it's just like because
I mean it kind of just like writes itself in a way.
It's hard to like analyze that fight in a real way because Santos was dominating the whole fight and then on the ground and then the headbutt. Like, and it's not even like Valentina's fault. Like it's just an inadvertent thing that happened, but that changed the whole course of the fight, that cut. And like it's hard to accurately assess whether Valentina was getting better because Santos was tired or the fact that she couldn't even really see. I don't know. I think that's a tough fight. That's why I think the rematch was the fight to make, but it is what it is. But great win by Alexa Grasso. And another great win. Kind of want your thoughts on this because obviously I was dead wrong. So I'd be curious to see like what you thought coming into this one. But Jonathan Martinez, obviously TKO's Cub Swanson, who did like our Instagram post on him. So hey,
shout out
Cub Swanson, you're the man, win or lose. He's a legend as it is, but obviously you got to talk about the fight. Jonathan Martinez TKO'd him with just brutal leg kicks. Just what did you think like coming into this fight and like in total? Because I think we talked about it like a little bit, but not too much. And then after the fight, like what was kind of like your reaction and like how you felt afterwards?
Well, I mean, I wasn't expecting Cub to look as off as he did for the entire fight. Because he could have gotten finished in the first round, and then he kind of just got saved by the bell, and then the second round was like, that's when it actually happened. But clearly, the move, at least for this first fight move to bantamweight, like there's quite an adjustment to be had.
Even on the scale, like I didn't even.
That's what I was
saying.
See him? Yeah,
like,
that's what I was saying too on the last episode before. Like, let's see how they look on the scale. I mean, Martinez should obviously look fine, but it's more Cub obviously.
Yeah, Cub
making
definitely
the move.
Cub looked sunken. I mean, they both looked pretty. Like I think Martinez cuts a little bit of weight too because his face looked sunken in, but Cub looked like he was like a skeleton up there. Man. And the older you are, the worse that usually ends up for you.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think that's why the leg kicks affected him so much.
Yeah, that's why it's exactly reflected itself in the fight too. Like he just looked like really like not even like one step behind, like multiple steps behind. Jonathan Martinez was given to him, and he was killing him with those leg kicks. It was I won't say it only made sense he finished him with, a leg kick, but like sooner or later Cub was gonna crumble. Like
it wasn't looking
He's
good.
gonna keep working that lead leg, and that is exactly what happened.
I'm gonna have to interrupt you for a game break, as they would say on the NFL. Harrison Bader smokes a 2-run home run to put the Yankees ahead 3-0 in Game 4.
Go ahead,
Let's go.
Have your moment.
Oh, dude, We'll talk about the Yankees. All right, we'll definitely talk a little bit about the Yankees at the end, but we'll go back. Sorry, I just saw the notification pop up as you were talking. I was like, yes, they're actually not going to choke away. Well, then again, who knows? But back to the fight. Martinez though, he looked great, and he called out Cody Garbrandt, Dominic Cruz. Don't think he's going to get either of those fights. Maybe Cody, but I doubt it because I don't think they're going to give Cody a guy who hits that hard.
You got to respect the guy that goes for it, though.
Yeah, I mean, who else? I mean, you don't want to just call out some random ass like motherfucker nobody knows. Like,
yeah.
I respect it. And, like, you could argue that he's earned, like, a top 15 guy. I mean, he's fought some killers. Like, Cub Swanson's amazing. Davey Grant was, like, on a good run when he fought him, even though that was a losing performance. And he looked decent in that fight, though. It was a war before it ended. But I don't know. Like I said, I don't think he's gonna get up that far. But like you said, you gotta shoot your shot. But I have I have a Cub Swanson matchup in my head that I saw on Instagram that I just love, and I want to see like what you think. Maybe a retirement fight, but not if Cub really genuinely wants to keep fighting, but definitely a retirement fight for the other guy because he's teased to come back. He has been out for a few years now, but Cub Swanson versus Uriah Faber in California, co-main event of a fight night. Tell me that's like not an awesome matchup. Right? Like it's at 145 too. Like don't even make him cut that much weight. Like let's let this at 145, Cubs natural weight class, Faber. You'd argue it's his natural weight class. I mean, he did really good in the WEC at 145, but
wow,
right? I love it. I just like I thought about that like after I saw the Instagram post like that was kind of suggesting it. I was like, okay, I see it.
Yeah,
I see that.
I could see. I mean, what card did you say that would be on?
Just like put a fight night in California and like make that the co-main event, and then obviously get like maybe like I don't know like Cheeto or somebody in the main event.
That is
someone from there.
That's definitely something they should think about.
Yeah, so
that would be really cool.
Well, we know Sean Shelby and McMahon are listening, so
of course.
Hopefully they pick up on it. But I guess we'll move on a little bit. These next few fights, I don't even particularly have much to say about. It's more just like the performances were good enough that like I feel like you just can't like go without mentioning them. But Dusko Todorovic versus very impressed with how I just pronounced that, by the way. Versus Jordan Wright.
I actually really enjoyed this one.
I'll let you start.
It's probably my favorite fight of the night.
I agree.
It didn't even go past the second round. But dude, that you just don't really like see like unless it's like obviously like a championship fight and maybe like the championship rounds are obviously the fifth round. Like okay, like you gotta really like pull together like everything you fucking got and just go for it.
Yeah.
For this dude, Dusko to Todorovic.
Yeah,
I just
I've
nailed
heard
it
enough
too.
times.
Dusko to Todorovic to. It's just like a completely different fight in the second round. He's just like a completely different fighter fighting a completely different fight. And Jordan Wright just kind of looked like helpless out there. It was like, oh my god, like how for him to just turn like just essentially like go from more grappling oriented in the first round to just straight just mauling Jordan Wright in the second round. You just don't see stuff. You don't really see, especially for a 3-round fight night fight. Like that was really impressive, actually.
They laid it all out there. I love it.
Yeah, props to Jordan Wright too. But dude, like clearly he did not see that.
Well, Jordan Wright, he's never been in that was his longest fight, and it was like 2 minutes into the second round. So it's like. This dude's either like knocking people out or getting knocked out.
Exactly. So there's like he had absolutely no idea what was coming.
It's the Beverly Hills Ninja right there. That's one of my favorite names in all of the sport.
But my goodness.
I wish we would have hyped this up more because the day of the fight, when I was like looking at the card, and like I saw that fight on there, I'm like, that's probably going to be a good one. Because I thought about that with Jordan Wright. I'm like, this dude never gets out of the first round, whether it's win or lose. So I'm like, this fight's going to be mayhem one way or another.
And then it gets out of the first round and like, okay, now like let's go to that one.
Jordan Wright's sitting there exhausted. He's just like,
Todorovic just like, all right, time to, it's like it almost like felt like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, I guess calculated from Todorovic and his team. Like, all right, it's kind of like clearly it's either he's looking to put you away or like you're gonna put him away in the first round. How about we drag him a little bit and then we see that he's exhausted and then we go after it. And
that ground and pound from Full Mount was so fucking brutal.
Oh my god!
I was like, what? Dude, he's getting bombed on.
Like
what? I get he's like on his hands up.
It's so crazy from one round to the next.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
I mean. That's how not to say that's how Jordan like obviously like more rounds he fights like he's gonna like him and his team they're gonna adjust and they're gonna like not necessarily like just go for it like immediately. And
I genuinely wonder like what his training entails because I'm sure he like definitely like you gotta like imagine like realistically like, he definitely does like probably like the 3-5 minute or even 5 minutes or some of them do like even more than that to like get conditioned. But like
definitely have to. But it's like that's more like just to get conditioned, like not necessarily I guess like all right.
It is different in a fight than sparring.
If you're your first game plan obviously is not working, like there's a counter for it, then you've obviously got to go to you got a plan B.
He's like, that's my question though. Like, what's like, does his coach just be like, all right, fuck it,
dude,
5 minutes, dude, let's get it done.
Now that might just be like a corner thing, like maybe not.
I'm gonna see if I can find his team while you're saying this, but
I guess like underestimating and just like giving Jordan Wright like that bravado, like dude, like you haven't fought into the second round for a reason. Like you can put dudes. You don't have to be out there forever. Like put these dudes away in the first round. But obviously, like you can't just like. Obviously, that's a lot easier said than done. And then when it doesn't happen, like you obviously like you got to keep fighting. You can't just be like I'm exhausted now. My didn't get to knock him out in the first round.
He definitely tried. It's more just like.
Yeah,
what are you gonna do
sure.
at that point?
Exactly, and that's why you gotta go back to the drawing board and just be like, all right, like
it's on a 3-fight losing streak.
The more like I said, the more names I beat, the more harder the competition's gonna get. So
I don't know. He's had a rough run in the UFC. I don't know if like what his contract's looking like, but I feel like they also might resign him just because he's so exciting.
Yeah.
But like his UFC record, he started in August of 2020 versus Ike Villanueva. Doctor stoppage, win round 1. Then he got, I don't know if you remember this fight. This fight was nuts. I completely remember this. Sort of like this one, actually. Joaquin Buckley versus Jordan Wright. And Buckley, like, knocked him the fuck out.
Oh.
And Jamie Pickett, he beat with knees to ground and pound, round 1. And then he's on a 3-fight losing streak. One by TKO.
It's a very like heavyweight kind of way of fighting he has.
It's very true.
And obviously that's not gonna fly every time. Especially the more and more you fight and the more film that opponents have on you. Like you gotta.
Wait a minute. I think I might have learned something.
I'm not trying to say he's like predictable or anything, but
Oh my god, no way. Dude, it's
more when you're that gassed in the second round and then you get finished like that.
I think I've learned. Yeah, I've learned all I needed to know. So, Jordan Wright trains out of California, obviously Beverly Hills Ninja, and he trains out of a place called Dynamics MMA. And one of the people this is according to Tapology, so if I'm wrong, blame Tapology. But it said like other coaches of his, Vladimir Matyushenko, and that's not like a very familiar name to like new MMA fans, but if you like watch like the old UFC, you definitely know who the janitor is. This dude was so like he fought like pretty similar. It was pretty similar. Like he was a really good wrestler, but he definitely had like his fair share of just like straight wars in there. Like his last few UFC fights, lost to Gustafsson by TKO, and then he got guillotined by Ryan Bader. So it's like, and he's won like literally his last 5 UFC fights. I shit you not, lost to elbows round 1, John Jones. So there you go, John Jones beat him. Then he beat Alexandre Ferreira by strikes round 1, beat Jason Brills by knockout round 1. Then lost to Gustafsson by TKO round 1, and then lost guillotine choke to Bader in round 1. So like is that not like identical? That's crazy. I never even like I knew who the janitor, because the janitor is a little bit before my time, but I recognized the name when I saw it. I was like, that looks familiar. But
and obviously, yeah, like
nuts.
Guys like these, like they're gonna like the matchmakers are looking to give you like that fight, like that you're obviously capable of winning, but like you're gonna be tested, and like it's just naturally gonna be like a good, fun, enjoyable fight. But like you can't always win a fight the way you're intending to win it. So like
gotta game plan.
Exactly, you gotta I guess like strengthen like not necessarily just fight so much with like strikes and stuff, but like look for clinch situations, try to land some shots like against the cage, or obviously grappling, like you can get a takedown and secure a mount and stuff and start landing shots that way. It's more like fight more for like I guess damage, and then like obviously like the more damage you're gonna pile up, like that's just how it goes. Like obviously like it's more like because like not everyone's like you simply don't want to leave it in the hands of the judges. Like, you're doing everything possible to end this fight, leave no stone unturned, end this fight, like, give no reason for the judges to screw you over. But sometimes, like, yeah, it's really that simple. Like, you know, you got exactly. You gotta just, as long as you're out there and you're
not trying to say it.
No, because I don't want to, like, I'm not trying to sound like, oh, like, now I'm, like, Jordan Wright's coach all of a sudden and stuff.
Trust me, I get that.
So, yeah, exactly. I'm not trying to, like, overstep boundaries here, but it's like, you know.
Well, it's fair, though. It's like, you know, even if you don't want to, like, talk technique and you just look at the numbers.
Exactly,
like,
yeah.
You got multiple, like, losses now in the UFC. And he was undefeated coming into the UFC, and now he's 12-4.
Yeah, there's just those guys that really just don't, like, don't caution him to win. Like, you know, I'm stronger than you. I'm more powerful than you. I hit harder than you. Like, I'm going to knock you out. Or I'm just, you know, I'm going to finish you with punches or
you don't,
kicks.
like, that's the thing. You don't even have to talk about his technique. Like, it's literally just,
like you know, like, level changes.
Like,
yeah, like, level changes and stuff. Like, that's, you know, that's something as simple as that could, like, be, like, a game changer to a fight. Like, you know, when you're not, you know, if you don't, like, if head movement and stuff like that, you're not moving your head a whole lot, or like, you don't have necessarily a chin that can take that as good, you know, a shot that you can give. But
he's
like,
definitely been slapped enough times at this point.
Like, you gotta weigh all this stuff. That's why you get a whole, like, training camp and stuff. That's why you, like, that's why you evaluate your opponent.
It's so funny too, because he's not like a brute or anything. I've never heard him talk, but he's very, like, well spoken. And he's, like, very intelligent. Like, you could tell, like, he's very, like, well articulated when he speaks. Like, he doesn't strike you as the guy who's, like, gonna be, like, you know, playing around with, like, head trauma every time he fights. But I don't know. Like, I just, like you, like, I kind of agree. It's just, he needs to figure that out in camp. And I think it's a game plan thing. You know, just come in ready to fight 3 rounds. Like, it's, you know, you can't think you're, like you said, you can't come in there every time thinking it's gonna go your way. The exact way, like, you want it to go. Like, you gotta have confidence. You can't be, like, delusional.
Because honestly, like, every athlete, if anything, like, you know, pre-game stuff, they're warming up, like, well, I mean, not every, but, like, I've heard, like, athletes and stuff, like, they just simply envision themselves, close their eyes, and just envision themselves making that, like, that huge play, or, like, you know, in this case, like, that huge punch, that huge kick, whatever it might be.
I've done that, like, with going, I've done that, like, sitting in my room, like, just imagining myself on, like, a date with Sydney Sweeney. Like, just being, like, just visualization. Like, if I really believe it, maybe it'll happen. Like, but, yeah, no, I completely understand, like, that feeling.
No, there's nothing wrong with playing out how, like, oh, like, you know, but it's, like, you have to be in the situation first. And that's sometimes I feel like, you know, not I feel like, but, like, sometimes, like, when guys, like, do, like, you know, don't get the result they want, it's because they're like, oh, they already put themselves in that position instead of thinking about how they're going to get in the position to get the, you know, get the result they want. And that's just how it goes.
Yeah, man. He's definitely got to change it up. I mean, 3 straight finishes like in a loss, you know what I'm saying? Like, he's not won any of these fights. And, you know, now, like,
you don't want to, like, you know, guys want to be, like, guys want to be entertaining, obviously. They want to draw a buzz to their name, and they want people to, like, support them and, like, be interested in every fight they're
now
in.
He's 2-4 in the UFC, though, so, like, you can
exactly,
argue
but no one cares. Exactly, no one cares if you're the loser. So
yeah, they remember it, like, the week after, like, we're talking about it, but it gets forgotten in the long run.
Exactly. Like, it's like, oh, and, you know, with us, for example, like, you know, we're talking up the fight and stuff, and then obviously talking up the winner. It's like, okay, well, this is who we fought, this is what his opponent did, and then obviously, like, it led to all this, and then this guy got his hand raised. That's what matters.
Yeah, like, Disco, like, he fought the smart fight, dragged him into deep water, and he finished him in the second round when he was just done.
Dude, I
mean, Dusko was a little tired too, but not as tired as Jordan Wright was. That's for sure.
Yeah, like, even, like, going on in the fight, like, I thought, like, yeah, this is actually a pretty, like, good fight. Like, you know, hopefully it is, like, you know, it's just nothing but hopefully it is nothing but fireworks. But it's like Jordan Wright's kind of like the one, like, looking for that. You're not looking to have a war. You don't want to have a war. Exactly. So you just gotta be methodical about it, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I kind of like...
It's like, Devin Haney, for instance. Like, dude, Oh my god.
Guy's saving himself from a lot of
My
head
Twitter
trauma.
timeline, dude, I kid you not, is so full of just people like, dude, Haney sucks. I can't stand watching Haney.
Yeah, because they don't know how, they don't understand
Exactly.
like how impressive it is, like that he's doing this to like people who are literally top talents. Like,
Yeah. And, like, that's fine. Like, you know, all right, you didn't enjoy the fight. Like, no one's going to knock you for that. But it's when you start, like, talking shit about the fighter himself, like, dude, like, what is everyone even seeing? Yeah, what do you even see in this guy? Like, he fights the same fight. Even if he does fight the same fight every time, then he's probably getting the same result every time, and that's the win. Like,
exactly. I don't see him losing.
people kind of, like you were kind of saying about, you know, MMA fans before, and, like, how short-sighted they can be. It's like they just contradict themselves too.
Yeah, 100%. It all depends on the person too. Like it's, you know, someone like, I'm trying to think of like, I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't have said this off the top of my head, but like, you know, pick like any fan favorite. Like if they have like one boring fight, like, oh, you know what it is, it happens. It's his opponent's fault, whatever. But then you like, there's certain people who just get hated on, and they like people love to hate them.
Yeah,
like Israel
dude.
Adesanya, Devin Haney, Floyd Mayweather.
Like, dude, at the end of the day, like, you're only seeing what is put on the TV screen, and that's obviously the fight. Like, these, whether, like, one way or another, like, these guys are, like, doing a lot to even get there. It's like, you know, they're not, it's not necessarily their job to entertain you. Yeah. They've got to get, like, they've got to do, this is their livelihood. Like,
and, like, you're also, like, when you think about it in, like, a very, very simple way, like, these are two dudes or two girls standing in a cage in their fucking underwear about to literally try to kill each other. I was about to say the same thing. Like, they're not, like, this isn't, like, I always compare it to, like, I always say kids' games, like baseball, basketball, football. Like, it's not the same. Like,
exact thing, dude.
You
like,
lose, you go
quite
home.
Literally fighting for their lives.
Yeah, like, you know, you lose a fucking baseball game, you go home, you play the next day, or maybe you have an off day and then you travel. Like, it's, but this is, like, you get knocked out. Yeah. People forget, like, that this fighter is going to be going through concussion shit.
And obviously, you have, like, obviously you're going to have, like, the occasional just mismatch and stuff. Like, you know, minus 500 favorite guys. That's just expected. But, like,
Kimai versus Diaz. What? Fucking, I still, to this, I cannot.
Yeah, unless you're Hamza Chimaev, like, dude, you're not, like, you're that.
Nate's just like,
dude,
fuck
like,
it, I'll fight him.
Mike Tyson, bro. Like, it's that, and the example, like, Mike Tyson is that simple. This dude was like, he was not afraid to say, like, I'm nervous before I get into that ring. Like, this guy
that talk, like, that you always hear, like, of the quotes, like, when he's walking, like, into the ring, like, that's shit. Still, like, I'm always just ready to run through, like, a fucking brick wall after that.
Like,
that shit is so hype.
Some guys come on. It's like, some guys come on, it's like, dude, like, no one's gonna, like, dude, if you're nervous, like, you're ready then. Like, this is clearly what your focus is. Like, you understand, like, there's a chance that this won't happen, like, this won't go the way you're hoping or expecting it to go. But you still gotta have that. You still gotta wear that confidence and stuff. Like Mike Tyson, the second that bell rings, he looks to his opponent's eyes and he sees the chink in the armor, and that's it. That's it. And it's like, you have the confidence, you have the belief that you can still get the job done one way or another. Like, if you could just crawl to the deepest depths and just fight any adversity that comes your way, like, you give it your all, like, no matter what this result is, like, you can still go home at the end of the day and be like, all right, like, you know, that one wasn't meant for me to have. Like, let's move forward. Like, you still, like, have that confidence in yourself, like, all right, like, I'm still very much, like, a force to be reckoned with. Like, this one loss won't, you know, like, just screw me the rest of my career. But, yeah, what was my original talking point before?
We were talking about, like, Jordan Wright and, like, training, like, we were kind of talking about, like, mentality and game plan, and it just kind of, like, went into that.
Yeah, pretty much.
But I do kind of want to move on a little bit, just because, well, one, just to, like, obviously get through the fights, but two, also because I don't want the camera to die. But we were you know, to go on, like, about, like, more fights, just, like, a little bit, because I think, like, there was a lot to analyze in that last fight. I think you're right. And there's only, like, really one more fight I want to go, like, really in-depth about, but I guess two that I just want to go through quickly. One, very happy for Rafael Sunsao getting a win in there. He deserves it. That dude's been screwed out of title shots since, like, 2017. So just to see him get a good win after some rough losses, very happy to see that, because he's been battling some injuries, getting up there in age. So good win by him. And then, you know, I remember you've picked Alonzo Menefield as your lock of the night before. anybody who did that for this card definitely like had a good decision there, because he slept Misha Cirkunov and fast. Like that was so bad. Those hooks, and then he hit him with those 2 hooks, and he was on the ground. And he hit him like 3 more times with hammer fists. I was like, Misha Cirkunov, he's asleep. Like I think he's done, buddy. But I felt like I said, there's not too much to analyze. That's kind of like to my point before when I was saying like, how much can you really say about people who are nowhere near the title picture besides it was a good performance and we hope they keep moving up? Because like with Menafield, like he's not really near the title picture yet at 205. So it's like another good win, keep moving him on up. And like that's kind of how I feel about this last fight that I wanted to talk about in this card with Tatsuro Taira. Did you see that fight? Dude, like he's been hyped up as it is going.
That was just a straight like jiu-jitsu masterclass.
Hell yeah. I like that he got through a little bit of adversity at the end of the first round, and then like people were saying like, oh shit, like is he finally like getting against
what
someone?
was it? He was looking for, he had the body lock, if I'm not mistaken.
So.
I think he was looking for a rear naked choke, and then
he got reversed. I know that.
Inevitably, I think got an arm triangle and then finished that way.
No, did he finish with his arm? I might be like misremember. I'm gonna look it up on top.
Yeah, that's worth doing. So
yeah,
I feel that's why I had to say first.
I thought he was he like got almost arm triangle and he got out of that, and then in the second I might be dead wrong though, honestly. Either way, I'm pretty sure he submitted him. But yeah, you're right. We should.
Yeah, that's why I had to preface at least like just straight jiu-jitsu, like just awesome.
He did win via armbar, so I think the arm triangle was like the adversity part that I was thinking of. But yeah, no, that was a great performance. He's 12-0 now. So, and is he? I think he's a flyweight or bantamweight.
I like this guy, dude.
I'm trying to figure out what weight class he's in. I think he's a bantamweight. No, he's a flyweight actually. So that's cool. Flyweight's just getting all like the new blood now in the UFC.
Dude, I love my jiu-jitsu when it comes to like these flyweights and these smaller weight classes.
Yeah, because they're moving fucking
exactly,
quick.
Dude. It's so much fun to watch. But
what you just said kind of like naturally is going to lead into like the next thing that I wanted to talk about, which is UFC 280. And the reason why like you reminded me of this particular fight was Dariush versus Gamrot, because one fight I watched in preparation for this was Gamrot versus Saryukian, because I think it's like pretty similar, except Saryukian's a lot faster than Beneil Dariush, but Dariush is also way more experienced and more well-rounded. But for this fight though, like I think if it hits the ground, I really have no idea, like, because they're both that good. And I think that the scrambles in this fight on the ground are going to be just beautiful to watch. Like, anybody who's into good grappling should watch this fight.
Yeah.
But then, if you are a Just Bleed fan, on the feet, this fight's going to be pretty damn good, too, because these dudes are both so well-rounded. I love it. And, like, while at first I was like, oh, Gamrot's probably going to win. Then I flip-flop, I think it's going to be Dariush. I think he might knock out Gamrot. But now it's like, I'm just unsure, because, like, Gamrot, he's definitely going to be landing some good kicks, some good jabs. Like, he's a good kickboxer. But Dariush is, like, that type of dude. He just drags you, like, into, like, a war. And he uses that to set up, like, takedowns, which people are, like, not expecting. And I think that is, that's, like, could be his path to victory in this fight. What do you think?
Well, he's gonna. I simply just think he's gonna need it. I'm gonna go with. My pick's gonna be Beneil Dariush. Well, I don't know what the numbers could be right now. I'm gonna assume Dariush is the favorite. I think he should be, and if he is, like, I think he has to win this fight, and I think he does get it done. Well, that's simply put. I won't say I think he does. I won't give like a direct prediction or anything, but that is my pick.
I'm about to find it. I'm just trying to find it quick. We're definitely going to cut after this, by the way, because the camera's about to die. So we'll pick it up once I charge it. So we are now back. The camera did obviously die. So we took a little hiatus for a few minutes and let it charge back up a bit. So we're back, and we're going to talk about the odds now for the fight that we were literally just talking about right before this, Dariush versus Gamrot. And Gamrot is a minus 195 favorite, and Dariush is the plus 165 underdog. And we did kind of talk about it right before the camera died, but it was all choppy, so now we should probably do it again. So it's like, But I say, like, for me personally, like, I would hedge the bet with, like, Beneil Dariush because I think, like, it's close enough. And I think that Beneil Dariush is going to win this fight. I think the experience is going to do a lot for him. And, like, I think you were saying before, too, like, just kind of how he just has, like, more on the line. Like, if he loses this fight, it's going to be hard to get back.
Exactly. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
And,
it's going to be a fun one. I'm glad this is on the pay-per-view.
Yeah, that's... You kind of just said it, actually. I didn't really say it before, but the experience, I think, is going to play. I think, because Gamrot's, like a fairly similar fighter. Like, this is,
they're very well-rounded.
Yeah, they're both so, like, well-rounded. Except, Beneil Dariush, like, you know, you still got to believe he's the better fighter right now.
Until Gamrot proves it.
Yeah,
if he does.
Yeah, you got to let Gamrot prove it first.
We'll see what happens. This is the fight that he's going to be proving it if he does, so... I can't wait for it. This is one of the best fights of the year, I think, matchup-wise. But then you move on to the co-main event, first of our title fights, which is Aljamain Sterling defending his bantamweight title versus TJ Dillashaw. And odds for this fight are also pretty close and almost surprised me a little bit because, like, everywhere I look, obviously Aljo just gets fucking killed for no reason at this point. And... TJ Dillashaw is a plus 155 underdog, and Aljo is a minus 180 favorite. So that's another one that's, like, close, and, like, I get it if you want to hedge the bet too, but, like, you know, I'll let you kind of talk about it from a betting perspective first, and then I'll kind of, like, talk about what I think, like, technically of the fight.
You said minus 180 for Aljo?
Yes, sir.
That's fair. I mean, I was honestly expecting Dillashaw to be a bit more of an underdog, but... In which case, I think I think the Aljo bet as the favorite is fine. That's where I would go. That's where I'm leaning. Even, like, I just feel like Aljo's gonna win, anyways. But you know, that bet itself is, like, it's pretty good. You're not getting a whole lot from Dillashaw right there, and I don't really think Dillashaw. Honestly, I think Dillashaw's gonna. I think TJ Dillashaw, if he can take, I'll say...
I know what my bet would be now. I just saw this.
I guess the first 2 rounds. If TJ Dillashaw can get ahead by, like, 2 rounds, then I get a little worried for Aljamain Sterling. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think they're either going to take 1 round from each other in the first 2, or Aljo is going to take both. In which case... I just think Aljo's going to be 1 step ahead of TJ. At least on the feet, yeah.
On the feet? That's interesting. I don't agree with that. I definitely think he's going to be 1 step ahead of him, but definitely not to me, at least, not on the feet. I think, like, the chaotic
I
nature
say that
of
in the sense that
not
necessarily... I don't think he's going to... I don't think he's going to maybe, like, outstrike necessarily Dillashaw, but... I think he's going to just be... I think he's going to fight like how a champion should fight. Like, you got to, like, just know your opponent. Like, know, like, what he wants, what he's looking for, where you can exploit all of that. I think that's exactly what he's going to do.
He has really good movement, too. That's kind of what I like about him on the feet. Like, when I was thinking about this fight, and I talked about this I think I might still be up there. I honestly might just read it word for word, because it is just what I think about this fight, like, in terms of TJ coming in. But, give me 1 second.
I just think Sterling can outsmart TJ Dillashaw.
I kind of agree with that, actually. This is what I said on Instagram. Obviously, if you guys don't follow it at her handbook. I've listened to a lot of TJ's talk before this title fight at UFC 280 with Aljo, and the stuff that he says really makes me just think that he's overlooking Aljo. The analysis he always has of him is like the 2018 version of Aljo, not the today version. Just don't be shocked if Aljo gets on TJ's back very early and defends his belt right there. Aljo clearly knows how good TJ is, but TJ seems to disrespect Aljo's skills at every turn. Just seems like TJ's cockiness is going to matter in this fight unless TJ is truly just building the fight by saying this type of stuff. But I don't think that he is, honestly. I don't think that he's just building it. I think that it's just he genuinely thinks that Aljo's not on his level, and I think that's a huge mistake coming in.
I think the longer it goes, the worse it's for TJ Dillashaw. Which is why I say I think he like those first 2 rounds are going to be really like indicative of how the rest of the fight's going to go.
I think if like the fight goes like into the championship rounds, it's gonna look like Sterling's second fight with Jan, where it's like close, but I think Sterling gets the win. But the thing is, like, if there, I just don't think it's gonna get there. And I actually like the bets like for method of victory because Aljo to win by submission, which is what I personally think is gonna happen. I think that's plus 400. And then TJ to win by KO, TKO, which is like how I would see him winning if it happens. That's plus 450. So those are both like good bets. Like no matter who you think is gonna win, because I feel like if you think Aljo's gonna win, if you don't think it's gonna be by decision, you think he's probably gonna submit him. Because by knockout is plus 1,000, and like I don't think that's gonna happen.
No.
And just like TJ submitting Aljo is like plus 1,800. Like I don't think that's gonna happen either, to be honest. It's just like. I think that TJ's going to come in, like, really overconfident. And, like, I don't mean that in the sense that he's not training hard. I just mean it in this, like, he doesn't respect him enough. Like, by the way that he talks about, he says, like, his striking style is too reckless. He doesn't have any, like, thought in his movement. Like, that's not the case. Like, he has, like, a very chaotic nature to his striking, Aljo. Like, that's definitely true. But it's more calculated than people definitely think it is. And he's definitely perfected it, too, like, over the past few years. And then you talk about his ground game, too. Like, TJ said, like, he's not a threat. That's crazy. Like, I don't understand how he thinks that. Like, he's like, I'm going to show him wrestling. I'm like, you might be able to take him down, but I don't know what's going to happen to you from there, dude. Like, Aljo's got submissions from everywhere. And, like, once he gets on your back, forget it. Like, if he's not, like... He's never, like, pretty much against Jan, too, like, the way that it was. Once he got on Jan's back, and every time he did, he was not off for the rest of the round. Like, Jan was never able to escape it. And I don't know if Dillashaw is probably a better grappler, but I don't know, man. Like, I just don't see him doing well on the ground. I think he should keep it on the feet versus Aljo. I think he would do better in, like, a firefight, because that's, like, the one part that I kind of agree with him on, is with Aljo's striking, like... Because TJ, he's very technical. He has outstanding footwork. And I can almost see, like, the way that Aljo bounces around, like, while it works against most people. And he's very good at, like, using that to bounce into takedowns. I just think that, like, he might run into, like, a head kick or, like, a good, like, hook, basically. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Like, it really is a fascinating fight. I love it, like, because I really don't know what to think. But off the bat, like, judging by TJ's mentality and just, like, looking at, like, certain fights before it, I don't know. I feel like Aljo's got this one. I think he's going to finish it early. I really do. Not because TJ's like a bum or anything. I think it's just because, like, I think Aljo's going to get him in a bad position while they're still dry. That's pretty much what I think. And Aljo's a rear naked choke machine. So it's like, if he gets on TJ's back, that's a big problem right off the bat. So that's how I see it. But I don't know. What do you think, like, from a technical perspective, I guess? Besides what you said already about the striking, I guess.
I think the opposite, actually. I think it goes all 5 rounds, and more so. I lean more towards a unanimous decision victory for Aljo.
Yeah, I could agree with that. That's fair.
I just think I think he's gonna beat TJ, like, everywhere, to be honest.
I hope he does, honestly, because I do, like. It's different when you're, like, genuinely just being, like, disrespectful. And he's, like, he's so, like, wrapped up in his own, like, head and, like, his ego. Like, he was talking, like, I'm going to go back on the Instagram because I saw another quote of his. He was talking about bantamweight. He said, I never lost my belt in this weight class. First, right off the bat, not true. Like, he got stripped, the one. That's 100%. Like, yes, it was because of steroids, so that does matter. But, he's stripped. Yes, he's right. He did not lose the belt. Mm-hmm. Dude, it's been 7 years, and he still doesn't believe that he lost to Dominic Cruz. Like, bro, you got to get over it. Like, Dominic Cruz is, like, not even, like, I don't even know why that's still on your mind. Like, you lost that fight. Like, I don't even know why he thinks he won it. Like, I don't know if you've ever seen that fight. Like, it's very clear. 3-2. Like, it's not like this fight with Sandhagen where you could, like, debate it. Like, the fight with Cruz, like, Cruz clearly won the first 3 rounds, and then from what I remember, and then DJ Dillashaw's leg kicks were starting to add up on Cruz, and then he was doing well in like the final 2. And you could argue maybe the 3rd round was close, but I thought it was like I thought the deciding rounds went to Cruz, and TJ was like going crazy afterwards, bogus decision, robbery. Out of your mind. But what he said, I've never lost my belt in this weight class, which is a lie. Yeah, I was stripped, but I never physically lost it. Yes, you did. But again, hold on. I have to just do this real quick for my own like sanity. But all right, hold on. This isn't gonna take me long.
Fact check, Mr. Dillashaw here.
Where are we? So yeah, he said, and I quote, "Yeah, I was stripped, but I never actually physically lost it." January 17th, 2016, him and Dominic Cruz had a fight night main event, which I feel like a lot of people remember because it was a really good fight, and Dominic Cruz won. So, yes, he has physically lost his belt before, whether he likes it or not. People forget how dominant I was because I hadn't been in there. That's true. I'm going to have to remind them all who the best is, who the best pound for pound is, and that 135-pound GOAT, I'm coming for it. So, a lot of ambition, but clearly a lot of cockiness at the same time. It's just like, if he's going into thinking that Aljo is not anywhere near his level, I just have this feeling that he's going to pay, like, very, very early. Or, like you said, maybe just beaten everywhere. But I don't know. I find it... I feel like if this like goes the distance, I feel like it's going to be a good fight, which I hope, obviously. But moving to the main event, though, Islam Makhachev and Charles Oliveira, who, is the champ, isn't the champ. You could debate that amongst yourselves, obviously. But I don't know. I've been so back and forth on this fight, which kills me because I love Charles Oliveira. Obviously, I've been high on him forever. But I'm leaning towards Islam, man. And I kind of have mentioned it in the past. It's just like their ground games are too comparable. Like there's very like similar like levels, but the strength is just what does it for me. Like Oliveira is a great grappler, but if you can't move, your technique means nothing. And when I hear people talk about Islam, like Bobby Green, Dan Hooker, and the other people who fought him, they never really mention his technique. They mention the fact that he's so strong that you know what to do and you physically cannot do it. And considering that Charles is another one of these guys who fought at 145, I just feel like the strength on the ground is going to be way too much for Charles to even get close to really submitting him, unless it's like on a scramble. That's the only place where I could see it. Like if he gets like
so even if Charles gets him down, he's not going to be able to hold him there.
Charles isn't getting him down. That's not happening. I don't think that's going to happen. No way, actually. I don't think at all. I think on the feet, Charles poses some threats to him because he hits really hard. He's tough as shit. And he's going to invite him on the ground. You know it. Like if Islam drops him.
Yeah, I don't think this fight's even going to really be on the feet that much.
I don't see it. Like I feel like, because when Oliveira gets like rocked on the feet, he usually invites them to go in his guard, and Islam isn't going to keep it on the feet. Like, he's going to go to get it on the ground, and if he gets dropped, I would imagine he's going to probably try and scramble to get on top position, not back to his feet. So it's like, he just has to watch his neck. That's really, like, what it is. Like, he can't shoot, like, reckless takedowns, because, like, Charles Oliveira could fucking put it on a guillotine just like that and fucking end it right there. But I don't know. I just really don't see that happening. Because, like, people like to compare him to Khabib because they train him. He doesn't fight like that. Like, Islam is more of, like, a clinch wrestler. Like, not really, like... Khabib was, like... He would control the center and then explode and get, like, take you down like a double leg or a single leg up against the cage. Islam's the type of dude who's going to, like, ride you out on the cage and then, like, use trips or use judo, or, like, he's very, like, technical up, like, in the clinch, which, like, Khabib, he was, but he didn't really use it as much as Islam does. So it's, like, you know, he's going to be stronger than Oliveira. Like, that's not even a question to me. Like, I don't think you can even debate that, personally. But if it does remain on the feet for a while, that's really the place where I think Islam has to pay attention, because Charles Oliveira is a nasty striker. He's got great Muay Thai. He's got good kicks up the middle. He's got good knees, so, like, that's what I'm saying. You just can't be reckless about shooting takedowns, which I don't think he's going to be, which is why I lean towards Islam, because I feel like once it gets to the ground, Charles. It's not that Charles can't do it. It's that it's like the strength. It's not that Charles doesn't have the technique. It's all about the strength for me. So that's my view on it. I got Islam. I don't know if it'll be by decision or if he'll get a submission or a finish late, but that's my view. I got Islam as much as it fucking kills me to pick against Charles. I'm rooting for Charles Oliveira. I hope to God that I'm dead wrong. So with that, I'll let you tell me about what you think.
Well, I just think this fight's going to be closer than you might think it is. Like,
would you like to hear the odds, by the way? I don't know if
Yeah,
that affects what you're going to say, but it's another close one. Islam's a -175 favorite, and Charles is +150 underdog. So not bad bet on Charles.
That is
honestly.
pretty good. I think this could be even like closer to a pick 'em. Honestly, I think it's gonna be pretty close. I don't know if it gets out through all 5 rounds, but if it does, I think the judges are gonna have their hands full to a degree. Especially if it's on the feet, a majority, or like, a good chunk of the fight. But I don't really have like a way of like, how it finishes. I just think it's gonna be like a lot closer than some people might think it might be, I guess, for one guy or the other. But I'm gonna stick with I'll side with the underdog here. I'll go with Charles Oliveira, 5-round decision victory.
I hope hey man, I hope you're right. I hope I'm wrong, genuinely.
I think I like just, especially the underdog too. Like, you want to talk about like the potential.
Yeah, considering he's also
the
like
upside,
technically the current champion. Like, if he didn't miss weight, and like
I think
it's
he can.
amazing.
I think he can just survive. I simply put, I think he can hang with Islam. So I think he can survive Islam too for 5 rounds.
I agree with that. I think like my official pick like that I put was like, I think like submission in like round 4 or 5, because like I think he might be able to beat him up and overwhelm him. But I honestly, he probably will go to a decision if Islam does win. But you never know.
This will be Islam's first 5-round fight in UFC too.
Nah, he had the main event versus Thiago. What the fuck's it? I'm like blanking.
Okay.
Oh my god, what the hell? What's this guy's name? I'm gonna have to look it up. It's gonna bug me because
Thiago Moises.
Yes,
Thiago Moises.
And the Bobby Green fight was a 5-round fight, but obviously he finished that within like a few minutes.
Yeah, that's why it feels like. All right, yeah. So all right, that does.
He's been scheduled for 2 of them though, and he went.
As long as you're training, like if you're training for a 5-round fight, like all right, then you can you can go 5 rounds. So I don't, I won't even like put that out there like Charles has the championship pedigree and all that, but
yeah.
I think Charles, at the end of the day, he's not officially the champion, but obviously the last champion. So
champion has a name.
Exactly.
His name is Charles Oliveira.
Exactly.
That's a great quote. Like I said,
for very good reason. So it's because he can hang. He can hang with anybody in that freaking division, dude, including in Islam Makhachev. So
I do agree with that. Even though I'm picking Islam, I do very much agree with that.
Yeah, that's fair.
And it's like the thing with Islam too that I just don't like is that to like the casual audience, people think he's so good not because of his fights, but because of what people say about him. Because he hasn't fought anybody on this level, like not even close.
Dude, yeah.
So I don't know. Like I pick Islam because, like I said, like what I hear from his opponents, it doesn't have to do with his skill. So it's like if they're talking about strength, the guy's strong. Like that doesn't make a difference. Like in this fight, like I think. Against Charles Oliveira, if he's stronger than Oliveira, he's going to have a very good advantage there. So it's like, if they're talking about, it'd be different if they were talking about technique, because it's like, all right, well then you could argue that, okay, well these guys aren't as good as Charles Oliveira, but it's the strength. Like that's just what does it for me. But either way, UFC 280 is stacked as fuck. I
have this last question though for the main event.
For sure.
Do you feel, really like, you think so? You were making the Khabib parallel before. You think that he's gonna look? I don't think he's really gonna. I think he's gonna look to get Charles like up against So in which case, like I do think he's gonna try to like take the center and whatnot. And he's gonna try to get Charles up against the cage in clinch situations and whatnot. I don't really think he's gonna shoot for that many takedowns.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, I agree with that. That's kind of what I was saying before. Because like Khabib does that. Islam's more of a finesse type of.
Exactly.
Like, Khabib is like explosiveness, then Islam's going to use like the technical finesse type, like the trips, like judo throws, things like that, hip tosses, like all that crazy stuff. Like that's what you'd see Islam doing.
Even if Charles can get him up against the cage, like I don't even think Charles wants a clinch situation of his own, because I think Islam could just turn that around. Like
that's
super,
what I'm saying. It's the strength. Like, because part of me was saying like, oh well, Charles Oliveira has good like judo, so like that could counteract Islam's wrestling. But I'm like, if he's not strong enough to lift Islam, like I just don't see it. I don't know. I think the only way that Oliveira really is like going to be able to stay in a dominant position for a long time is if he gets him in like a submission of some sort, gets his back on gets his back or his neck on a scramble. I can't see him taking Islam down. I just can't. I don't know. I don't really think that's going to happen.
Even if he does, like, you know, good luck keeping him there.
That too, yeah. So, I don't know. It's very close to me, but this card is insane. Like I said, 2 title fights, Gamrot versus Dariush, O'Malley versus Piotr Yan, Chukagian versus Furat, Brady versus Bilal Muhammad, like, and all those prelims too. Like, there's some good ones on there. Volkan Ozdemir's fighting. A bunch of others. I kind of want to like mention it, but I can't really find it. Where was I? I definitely had it up there. Oh wait, never mind. Hold up. Fight card. I'm getting there, dude. I'm having like all these tabs open. I'm going crazy. All right, yeah. So again, besides, I never know how to say this guy's name, but Cal Barajo. He's really good. Zubaira Tukugov, who obviously fucked me in that spelling bee. So it'll be a good. Muhammad Makhachev, very happy to see him. Keep your eyes out for that one. That's a free fight, everybody. He's a very, very, very good flyweight, and he is only going up from here. So if I had to pick a lock of the night, it would be him. So
I like that.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
Off the top of my head, personally. But this is going to be a great card. Definitely a good card for anybody who's getting into the sport to watch. There's going to be a lot of fun fights. High-level fighters on the pay-per-view and on the prelims, honestly, because Sean Brady and Bilal Muhammad is the featured prelim. So everybody definitely check that fight out because that's going to be a great one. And, yeah, I mean, we'll be back to break it down next week, so we'll see you guys then.
I don't think I'm gonna see tomorrow. Living fast, brand new dash up in a foreign car. It's the type of shit that you be doing when you going hard.